There comes a moment in a deep human bond when silence stops being empty and starts saying everything. What you feel right now is not fantasy. It is not false hope. It is the quiet movement of another person wrestling with their own heart because of what your presence awakened in them. Somewhere inside, away from the noise of daily life, they are standing at a serious crossroad, and every path they look at somehow leads back to you. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to explain it away. They told themselves distance would weaken the bond and silence would slowly erase what was there. But feelings this deep do not follow easy rules. The more they pushed it down, the more it rose up. The more they tried to move on, the more something inside kept turning back toward you. That is because what happened between you was never shallow. It touched something real. It reached the deeper layers of who they are, the parts that cannot be cleaned up, packed away, or forgotten on command. And now, whether they wanted this moment or not, they are reviewing everything, not only what you meant to them, but what this whole connection says about the person they have become. Their fears are rising, old pain is rising, limits they built to stay safe are rising too. Stay with me, because this is where everything starts to shift. The choice in front of them is not simply whether to come closer or walk away. It is whether they are ready to face their own truth. And for many people, that is far more frightening than love itself. Part of them wants you in a way they can barely explain. It feels deep, natural, almost like hunger. Your absence does not feel small to them. It feels like something missing from inside their own life. But another part pulls back hard. That part wants protection. That part fears what being with you would ask from them. Because this kind of connection does not allow masks for long. It asks for honesty. It asks for softness. It asks for change. And change, even when it leads to something beautiful, can feel like a kind of death to the old self. That is why the energy has likely felt heavy, tense, and uneven. One day the pull feels strong. The next day they seem far away. It is not always a game. It is often a real inner clash. They are forced to ask themselves why your name still appears in their thoughts, why your absence still leaves a mark, why no one else has been able to replace the feeling you brought into their world. This is the edge before clarity. The mind can only fight itself for so long before one truth begins to win. And when that truth rises, the version of them built from fear, pride, and habit starts to crack. If they come back, it will not be because it is easy. It will be because they finally understand the value of what they almost lost. And if they step away, it will not erase your worth. It will only reveal that they were not ready for the kind of change this love demanded. Remember that, really remember that. Because your value does not shrink just because someone else is afraid to meet it. Right now they are under the weight of a decision that feels bigger than a relationship. Inside them, two powerful forces are pushing against each other. One side feels drawn to you with strange force, like memory, comfort, longing, and home all rolled into one pull they cannot fully name. The other side is driven by fear, old pain, and the instinct to survive. That voice tells them to stay guarded, to stay careful, to avoid the risk that comes with true closeness. And these two forces are not whispering, they are colliding. That is why they may bury themselves in work, routines, noise, and distractions, hoping the feeling will pass. But it does not pass. It waits, it returns, it grows in the quiet. You became a trigger for something bigger than romance. You touched the parts of them that were hidden behind control and self-protection. And now they face a hard question. Stay inside the version of themselves they already know, or step toward the unknown person they could become if they let this connection change them. This is exhausting for them. It explains the mixed signals, the nearness followed by distance, the warmth followed by cold silence. They want the bond, but they fear the cost of entering it fully. And the deeper this struggle goes, the more it burns away illusion. They can no longer pretend you were just temporary. They can no longer act like this was small. Every memory is returning with new weight. Every shared feeling is being reviewed with sharper eyes. And here is the line you need to hold on to. People do not fight this hard over something that means nothing. If the struggle is this intense, the meaning is too. There comes a stage when the fog starts to break, not because everything outside has changed, but because the mind gets tired of living in denial. They are entering that space now. For a long time, they told themselves their feelings were manageable, maybe exaggerated, maybe temporary. But real emotion does not stay frozen. It grows, it deepens, and sooner or later, it demands to be seen for what it is. They are beginning to understand that what they feel for you is not passing. It has become part of their inner world. This understanding reaches them in waves, late at night, in still moments, in sudden memories they tried to bury. They notice how their thoughts keep circling back to you without effort. They notice how your presence remains in the background of everything, like a low sound that never fully leaves. And what changed this the most was your absence. By stepping back, you left them alone with themselves. No easy comfort, no outside distraction strong enough to hide the truth. That space became a mirror. It showed them what was missing. It stripped away the easy excuses and exposed the real shape of the void. They are starting to see that what they had with you was not just pleasant, it was important. It gave them a kind of emotional grounding they did not fully respect until it was gone. And now, whether they want to admit it out loud or not, they compare others to you. Not because they enjoy doing it, but because the difference is impossible to ignore. Stay here, because this is the moment where denial starts losing power. Once a person sees clearly that a bond changed their life, they cannot fully go back to pretending it did not matter. Inside them, fear and desire are no longer separate. They have met face to face. On one side is a deep emotional pull toward you, something warm, instinctive, and honest. Being near you seems to wake up a more real version of them, a self that feels more alive, more open, more true. That desire is not shallow, it is not random attraction, it carries meaning, it carries peace. It carries a sense that maybe, just maybe, being with you would bring them closer to the person they were always meant to be. But on the other side is fear with equal strength. Not fear of you alone, but fear of what loving you means. Because to love you would mean lowering defenses. It would mean risking disappointment. It would mean trusting again after old hurt taught them not to. Some of those wounds may not even be fully conscious, yet they still guide reactions in quiet, powerful ways. So whenever their heart leans in, their old protective system sounds an alarm. Slow down, pull back, build the wall higher. Do not go somewhere that could break you. This is why the push and pull feels so intense. One moment they imagine giving in to the bond and letting the future unfold. The next, fear rises and they retreat into doubt. Both sides feel real to them. That is what makes this so hard. Desire feels true, fear feels necessary, and when both feel valid, confusion grows. But no one can live forever in that split state. Sooner or later, one force wins more ground. They will either let fear keep them at a distance or let desire move them toward the unknown. And make no mistake, this is about more than love. It is about identity. It is about deciding who they will be from this point on. A final turning point is getting close, whether they admit it or not. Up to now, they have lived in hesitation, swinging between hope and resistance, replaying old moments, imagining future ones, trying to control what already feels bigger than control. But the human heart does not allow endless delay. When thoughts become this constant and emotions become this heavy, some kind of answer has to form. That is where they are now, near the edge of a choice that will shape their direction. This is not sudden, it is the result of everything they have been carrying in silence, the confusion, the longing, the reflection, the private struggle. All of it has been building toward this point. You may even notice them becoming more distant or restless as this moment gets closer. Do not mistake that for lack of care. Sometimes it is the sign of someone dealing with something too important to handle lightly. They are learning that staying in the middle is draining them, neither fully with you nor fully gone, neither honest nor free. They remain stuck in a place that takes more from them every day, and that is becoming impossible to ignore. They are being pushed toward a deeper kind of honesty, not only about how they feel for you, but about how they see themselves. Are they brave enough to risk comfort for truth? Brave enough to leave behind the safety of old patterns for a bond that asks them to grow? This moment carries a quiet final weight. The stage of maybe is ending. The stage of what is coming is beginning. And once someone sees that avoidance does not protect them, it only keeps them frozen. Something inside starts moving, slowly at first, then all at once. And when it moves, actions usually follow. What is unfolding now will reveal their real feelings in a way that cannot stay hidden much longer. For a long time, they used logic, distance, and silence to manage what they felt. They wore control like armor. But deep emotion does not stay locked away forever. It pushes, it waits, it finds cracks, and eventually it rises with enough force to change everything. They are reaching that point. The truth is breaking through. not in a dramatic flash, but in steady waves of recognition. They are starting to see the gap between what they felt and how they acted, the times they stayed quiet when they wanted to speak, the moments they pulled away when what they truly wanted was closeness. That realization is painful, but it is honest. And honesty changes people. It removes the easy excuse of confusion. It removes the shield of, "I don't know," because now they do know, or at least they know more than they can comfortably deny. Their bond with you keeps showing up in private thoughts, in silence, in memory, in comparison, in longing. And when something keeps returning like that, it is not random. It is truth asking to be faced. Whatever they decide next will not come from impulse alone. It will reflect who they really are once the noise falls away. This is why the process feels so serious. They are not just choosing what to do about you, they are choosing whether to keep living behind a protective mask or step into a more honest self. Keep listening, because this is where the hidden story becomes clear. The more they sit with themselves, the harder it becomes to keep pretending that the connection was ordinary. It was not ordinary. And deep down, they know it. The pressure inside them is reaching a level where the old structure can no longer hold. A person can only carry so much hidden emotion before something has to give. And for them, that release is happening through quiet shifts in the way they now see the whole story. They are looking back at your connection and no longer seeing random moments. They are seeing a pattern, a real journey, something that changed them from the inside. That change is what finally weakens denial. They are beginning to understand that they do not simply miss you. They miss who they became when they were with you. They miss the version of themselves that felt more awake, more honest, more connected to life. And the gap between that version and the guarded one they live in now has become too wide to ignore. What they once called safety is starting to feel like self-made isolation. The outside world is losing its power to distract them. Work can only do so much, people can only do so much, new routines can only do so much, because under all of it, one theme keeps returning, the heart keeps returning. The ego tried to protect them through distance and control, but now even that system is weakening. They are starting to see that the pain of total disconnection may be greater than the pain of taking a risk. That is a huge shift. It means possibility is beginning to feel more valuable than protection. They are finally understanding that every important change in life asks something from us. It asks us to leave the familiar. It asks us to walk into uncertainty. It asks for courage before comfort. And for the first time, they may be ready to believe that what they feel is worth that price. That is where real bravery begins. A strange calm is beginning to replace the chaos inside them. The restless energy of indecision is slowly giving way to something heavier, quieter, and more grounded. They are no longer fighting their emotions with the same force. They are getting tired of resisting. They are beginning to let the truth sit there without running from it. And that acceptance brings a kind of peace, even before any outer action happens. It does not mean the road ahead is simple. It does not mean fear has vanished. But it does mean the inner war is losing power. They are starting to admit the depth of what they feel without turning away from it. That matters more than you may realize, because once someone stops lying to themselves, everything starts to change. The silence that once helped them hide now acts like a mirror. It reflects what they tried not to see. It shows them that keeping you far away also meant locking away a part of themselves. That realization is deeply humbling. Pride weakens, pretending weakens, old excuses begin to sound empty. They go back through memories with a different mind now. They see the moments fear took over. They see the value of what stood between you. They understand more clearly how their withdrawal affected the energy between you both. And with that understanding comes empathy. Real empathy. They are starting to feel the weight of what you carried while they stayed uncertain. That softens something inside them. It makes retreat harder to justify. It moves them from reaction into responsibility. And that is a powerful sign. It means they are no longer only being pushed by fear. They are beginning to choose with intention. And once intention enters the story, the future can change fast, very fast. The last pieces of hesitation are starting to burn away. The endless should I and what if are losing strength, replaced by a quieter but stronger truth. Something must happen. They must admit what is real. They must face what their choices have created. They must decide what this bond truly means in action, not only in thought. Time is beginning to feel more serious to them now. They are realizing it does not wait. It does not pause while people sit in emotional paralysis. And that realization adds pressure, but it also brings focus. The clarity growing inside them is no longer just an idea. It feels like a call. It reaches into the body, into the chest, into the bones. They are coming to understand that while the unknown is frightening, the familiar emptiness they have been living with may be even worse. And that understanding changes everything. It moves them towards speech, toward movement, toward a real choice. At the center of all this is one simple fact they can no longer deny: you changed their life. You became a mirror that reflected something important back to them. You became the spark that started a deeper inner shift. Even in silence, your impact remained. Even in distance, your presence stayed alive inside their world. And now the static is fading, the noise is thinning out, the path is becoming visible. It is no longer only a question of feeling, it is becoming a question of timing. When will they act? When will they say what they know? When will they stop hiding behind delay? Because deep down, they already feel the answer forming. If you have stayed with this until now, then you already know. The truth inside them is getting too loud to ignore. As this process continues, their true feelings are separating from all the doubt around them. Layer by layer, the false stories are falling away, and what remains is the core they tried so hard not to face. Once that core is exposed, it cannot be unseen. They are also starting to understand something important. The more they tried to control these feelings, the stronger those feelings became. By hiding the fire, they only gave it space to grow in the dark. Now everything is being brought into the light, and in that light, they can no longer honestly say they do not know what they feel. They do know. The noise is fading, certainty is taking its place, and whatever they choose next, it will come with more honesty than anything before. If they move toward you, it will be with open eyes and a clearer heart. If they choose another road, it will still come from truth, not confusion. That is the deeper meaning of this moment. Not only a final action, but a final clarity behind the action. They are standing in front of their own reflection now, seeing their longing plainly, without excuses, without disguise, without turning away. The heart has spoken. The mind has resisted. The silence has taught its lesson. And now the story is moving toward release. So do not rush. Do not chase. Do not force what is already unfolding in its own time. Let truth do its work. Let reality reveal itself. Because when a person finally reaches this level of inner honesty, something always changes. And very soon, the feeling they kept locked inside will no longer be able to stay there.